We may have some big snowstorms entering the states not too far ahead. I'm talking about in a week or two, the beginning to mid-November. Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to try to start uploading now every morning and evening so we can look at these model updates. And there's definitely been an interesting change and a good change if you like snow from the last GFS run to this GFS run. Now this is the 18Z, kind of the off-hour run. We like the 12 and 00Z runs more. It's a fresh data set. This is kind of just adjusted for time. But with that being said, it's still good to look at to see where the trend is, right? If we see a trend of a trough moving more amplified or becoming more amplified over a certain amount of model runs, typically the odds that that's going to occur go up. So on the 12Z GFS, we saw this snowstorm and I was actually talking about it. It was a little bit farther to the north. Now we get the 18Z, it dives a little bit farther down to the south, and who knows, maybe we get some snow into portions of Nebraska, the Dakotas, Minnesota, and then out into the Midwest, and maybe even a little bit down there in Kentucky, West Virginia, up through the Appalachian Range. And then look at that, another big snowstorm trying to move in right behind it. But anyways, we're watching these trends. I'm going to, like I said, try to continue doing these morning and evening updates so you guys know what to expect. And hey, is it looking dry and warm, or could we have some fun snowfall? I know not everyone loves snow. I love snow. I grew up in Florida, so I really like it. Not everyone does, but we're going to see what this says. Here we go. This is the latest GFS. Like I said, it's the 18Z. Moving ahead here as we get into Halloween night, we've got a lot of moisture falling up here in the Northeast, low pressure system moving up the coast. Now, I think a lot of this will actually be in inner New England. I think you might be fine along the coast there, from Portland, Maine down into Boston, Massachusetts, New York City, stuff like that. I think you actually may be fine along the coast, but definitely some inner New England precipitation falling. Also in the Pacific Northwest, we could have a good amount of low elevation cold rainfall and maybe some flakes falling up in the higher elevations. Now, as you can see right here, we have some cold air diving into the northern plains and upper Midwest. Definitely a little bit chilly for us out east in the plains and out east Halloween night. We're actually going to have a lot of below average temperatures, really from the plains pushing out east Halloween night, and then as we get into November 1st. Now, moving into this weekend, we're still pretty dry across most of the country. As we get into Saturday, Sunday, we could have a little bit of a surface low here developing, bringing a little bit of that Gulf moisture through portions of the Tennessee, Mississippi Valley there, and then getting into early next week. Here we go. This is when things start to get interesting, okay? So we do see some moisture trying to move up the coast here, and this has gone back and forth over the last 3 model runs. We've seen a low developing and moving up the coast, bringing a lot of moisture to the East Coast at the beginning of next week, and then we've seen runs pulling back on that. This latest GFS does think we're going to get some moisture up the coast next week, which is interesting. And then also, if you notice, as we get into Monday, here comes some more cold air for potentially inner New England, the upper Midwest, UP of Michigan, in the northern plains, and the potential for some snow up there as well. But the west is dry and the west is getting hot. We have a ridge building up here. This is definitely going to have a lot of heat pushing into it, and the east is going to remain average to slightly below average as we get into next week. Moving into Tuesday and Wednesday out along the west coast, and I actually want to zoom out here. We'll go to North America. We've got some big storm systems that are going to be pushing a lot of rainfall and snowfall into the higher elevations out here in British Columbia and the western U.S. And we got some cold air sinking into Alaska as well. That's going to try to make its way down into the states as we push a little bit farther into November. But here we go, getting into the middle of this week, we have these storms really slamming into California. We're potentially going to see some high winds up here through the Cascades, some snow falling through potentially the northern Sierra Nevada and Cascade Mountains, and again, more cold rain for the Northwest and the California coast. And we move forward in time here, and what's happening at the same time? Well, cold air and snow is trying to dig down into New England as all of that moisture is falling up in the Northwest. This is in the middle of next week. We're talking Wednesday and Thursday. Let's push back down into the United States, a little bit better view. Here is what's happening on the latest run as we get into around the end of next week, next Friday. We get another push of cold air trying to dive into the northern Rockies and northern plains. This could bring a decent amount of precipitation into Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, potentially northern Kansas, Nebraska, the Dakotas, Minnesota, and we could have some snow mixed up with this as well. So this is definitely another opportunity for snow. We've been seeing those opportunities up in the Northwest and New England as we move into November. Well, here we go. We get an opportunity for the plains and the upper Midwest. This to me is very interesting because this would be big snow for Minneapolis, potentially Des Moines. Who knows if this trough amplifies a little bit more, potentially Omaha, Nebraska. We'll have to wait and see. And then out on the leading edge of this, you can see we've actually got a sort of squall line forming out here. We'll have to see how amplified this trough is, how much moisture we have available from the Gulf, how much warm air we have pushing up here. to see if we potentially get a little severe weather down here through Dixie Alley, pushing out towards the East Coast at the end of next week. Now, anything after here, we're getting into 200 to 250 hours, starts to get a little bit questionable. So models are going to really start to disagree here. We actually have decent model agreement up into this point, but the models still aren't completely agreeing on this big snowstorm for Minnesota, Iowa, potentially Nebraska, and the Dakotas. As I said, the last model run brought this snow in a little bit north of the northern plains and upper Midwest. And we actually saw some model runs before that bring the snow all the way down into Kansas, which would be some very heavy far south snow for the beginning or mid-November. Again, we're watching this region for snow as we get into the end of the first week, beginning of second week of November. Still a little bit of a question mark, but like I said, if you're a snow lover, if you're excited for winter, if you're excited for some snow to fall, at least we're seeing this stuff show up on the model runs, right? We got a chance here, and it's not just one run. When you look at the ensembles, it's trying to place some snow here as well, and the ensembles is looking at 50 different members. So as we move forward in time, now we're getting into Saturday, we're getting into Sunday, and look at all of this cold air diving into the east. Again, this is very, very early to potentially have some good snow through the Appalachian Mountains, maybe even some good snow falling in the Ohio Valley at lower elevations, but we'll see. It's going to have to be pretty cold, but this would be around November 10th. Really, the next 10, 11, 12 days. And then look, we move forward here and we have another opportunity for snow up here through portions of the Midwest and New England. This pattern is getting extremely active and very early. And I've been talking about this in this weak La Nina pattern with a negative NAO that looks like it could be setting up a little bit more than normal because of those cold SST anomalies in the subpolar North Atlantic. The warm WPO, that's really going to be juicing up these storms coming off the Pacific. A lot of ice up there in the Arctic. This is just shaping up to be, I think, a very cold and snowy start to winter. In my winter forecast, I do talk about how I think November, December, the beginning of January is going to be a lot colder and snowier than normal. The second half, actually, we might have a warmer winter than normal, but you could see right here, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for big snow early November, right? Sometimes we don't even see this till we're in early to mid-December. Like I said, if you like snow, you're probably liking what you're seeing here. And then look, again, at the end of the model run, and this is in La La Land, but we have snow down into Texas in mid-November at the end of this model run. Do I think this is going to happen? Probably not. But the whole point is these globals are showing, the fact that they're even showing this as a possibility shows you how cold they expect it to get. If we moved over to our temperatures, and this is going to be our 925 millibars. So this is not surface temperatures, but right above the surface. Watch here as we get into the 7th, 8th, and 9th of November. I mean, this is below freezing air, and look how far it's trying to dive down into the states. Again, this is right above the surface, but that's still very far south. It's trying to get into northern Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. The reason I'm showing you this air too is this is where a lot of the precipitation is going to fall through. So this can give me a signal if, I think there's maybe a chance for snow in the mountains, even though the radar might just show, or the future radar might just show rain. You get these freezing temperatures right above the surface. You can bet if that future reflectivity is showing rainfall, there's probably going to be some snow up and down the Appalachians. So moving into the 10th, 11th, 12th, again, I mean, this air is displaced. It is much farther south than it should be for this time of year. If you like winter, it looks like it's going to be here. Taking a quick look before I wrap this up. And this is going to be our GFS, just the latest 18Z, looking out about 2 weeks. And you can see where it wants to put snow. Again, don't hold on to this run. Things are going to change. We could see more snow. We could see less snow. It could be displaced. But again, this early in the season, getting snow signals this far south is pretty impressive. And then taking a look at the European AI ensemble, I mean, that's impressive. Upper Midwest, and then we have chances for snow out here, the northern plains as well, and then up and down the Appalachian Mountains. So I think it's going to be pretty exciting. I think I'm going to be posting a lot more, streaming a lot more as this stuff develops. We have very warm anomalies right now, and I talk about this in every video that I'm talking about snow in the winter forecast because it's really important, but we have very warm anomalies in the Arctic up in the stratosphere. That's going to create some wobbles in the jet stream. The jet stream is slowing up there, and that's when you get these polar vortex breaks, which we could have 1 or 2 in November, potentially. Exciting if you like winter. I'm going to continue to do these morning posts, try to get a video out before 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning, and then try to get another video out later in the day. I love looking at this stuff. I love talking about it, and I want my channel to be a place where you can get these constant updates. And if you could just hit that subscribe button if you like this type of content, it'll notify you every time I post, every time I go live. It's a huge help to the channel. I do appreciate all the support, guys, and I'll see you in the live tonight, or I'll see you in the next video.